Eric Sanders put a tweet out, and this is very important. Ex-New Jersey police chief sentenced for sexual assaults on subordinates, some inside headquarters. This is the Attorney General, and this was in the Lyndhurst Daily Voice. In New Jersey, a police chief like Thomas Herbert, I hope I get his name right, gets 7 years in state prison for sexually assaulting subordinates. In New York City, NYPD officials accused of similar conduct often face paid desk duty, internal discipline, or a quiet retirement with a pension. The difference, in New Jersey, they prosecute them. In New York City, they protect. And I don't know if you can click on this article. Look at this. Manville Police Chief Thomas Herbert, I hope I say his name right, sentence. A former New Jersey police chief has been sentenced to 7 years in New Jersey State Prison for sexually assaulting and abusing multiple subordinates over more than a decade, authorities announced. Where have we seen this before, Eric? How come it's New Jersey holding people accountable and the NYPD just says, don't worry about it. Let's all party to the break of dawn together?
Well, it shows you how much power and authority the NYPD has when they have a mayor that puts in his cronies and his nepotism. We're seeing the byproduct of how bad things could get and how much authority and how much power. When we give power to weak, dangerous men, where we could be in this position right now. And they're just untouched. And that's why this continues. And I think, again, I'm going to say it. I mean, two fantastic attorneys who have been on your show, Eric Sanders and John Scola, have been really given silver linings of what goes on with the NYPD. And particularly, John Scola said on your interview with him, and I thought it was fantastic. If anyone wants to tune in, watch the interview with Sal Greco and John Scola, where John Scola says the NYPD never looks to fix the root of problems. They just put a Band-Aid. They pay for the problem so that the problem can continue. They pay and pay and pay so these chiefs can continue to enjoy the benefits. John Scola, hands down, that was fantastic. I learned a lot. I had a lot of perception on what I thought of John Scola. I heard a lot of negative, derogatory things about him. But when I watched that interview, I said, wow, that was a great take. And he really explained how it works with the upper echelon of the police department. And I think it mirrors and piggybacks on the fact I've been talking about this 3-tiered system within the NYPD. So I think it's Andy Maggio, right? One of our friends on the podcast, great comment that you read before. Obviously, former Lieutenant Fabrizi is a part of general population. And I can't prove it, but I think it was a concerted effort to figure out who can they pin this on as a scapegoat that doesn't have the ability to get back at them. They slept on former Lieutenant Quatisha Epps because she came back swinging. But apparently, former Lieutenant Fabrizi doesn't have an opportunity to fire back. So you know what? You do now, brother. Reach out to the Defiance Unfiltered. I'd love to get your story.
Yeah, I wouldn't invite him on here with that, but I think he's got a legal case because that's the best part. They put a legal case on this guy. Yet, what about Kinsella, Caban, Madry, Shell, Daughtry? They all allowed this stuff to happen. Benoit, chief of personnel, they're going to forget about you. All these people, chief of detectives. How are you allowing this if he's in a squad? I mean, this is ridiculous that the one guy is falling on a sword. And just so people know here in this article, it said that Herbst was convicted. This is a New Jersey chief. In February 2025, after a 3-week trial on multiple counts of official misconduct, 1 count of pattern of official misconduct, 1 count of sexual assault, and 1 count of criminal sexual conduct. And that's from the Attorney General plaque in there of New Jersey. Just so you know, right? The evidence, it says, according to trial evidence, Herbst victimized at least 3 women. Beginning in 2008, he groped, exposed himself to, and sexually harassed a police department employee. Over the next 13 years, his conduct escalated to sexual assault, often while on duty in inside police headquarters. The jury found Herbst abused his power in other incidents in 2016 and 17. He solicited sexual favors from the wife of a subordinate officer in exchange for favorable employment decisions, including a promotion. In another case, he demanded sexually explicit photos of a different subordinate's wife for a schedule change. This guy's a monster. And that's what Madry and all these other guys. There's so many rumors and allegations and lawsuits telling you about this stuff. But again, Eric, anyone being held accountable, we got to federalize the police department, or that's the answer.
And that's why this upper echelon thought they have so much power and authority. And that's why I say kudos to former Lieutenant Quatisha Epps. I know I get a lot of polarizing statements from that. I'm not saying that she's not complicit in any of this, right? But I will say they, and when I say they, that's Jeffrey Madry and the rest of the upper echelon, tried to throw former Lieutenant Quatisha Epps under the bus. And she came back swinging. She had leverage and she fought back because they wanted to throw her under the rug. So the NYPD, the upper echelon, does a great job of finding scapegoats. So there's no doubt about it. Former Lieutenant Fabrici is a scapegoat. They find scapegoats. Let's look at Terrell Anderson from Candace Espin. He's another scapegoat. This department finds scapegoats to deflect from the upper echelon. So if you're an Internal Affairs Bureau right now, which I call the Selective Affairs Bureau, you have to take a good look at yourself, especially if you're in Group 1 in the Internal Affairs Bureau, and you're supposed to investigate executives where there's misconduct and corruption. Ask yourself, are you doing an honest job? I don't have to ask myself those questions. It's not Sal, neither do you. But Travis Rutherford, Sergeant in Selective Affairs Bureau, people like that, when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself, were you used? Did you investigate a case to deflect from those executives? Were you actually investigate those executives? Only you know the truth.
And again, these guys, I think that this indictment, the way they're treating him is the way they should be looking at Madry and company. For God knows what was going on. And we're going to get to the bottom of it, but I don't know. We're not going to see. I don't think you're ever going to see that in New York City because, again, instead of holding them accountable, we need to federalize the police department, which is the mistake. You need to have public corrupt figures held accountable. That's it. That's the answer. But I know, once again, someone wants their golf course, won a casino there for $100 million, and they need their name back on the woman rink, apparently. That's what's more important.